back at the end.
Oh, perfect. So you got to endure this whole thing.
I do, and I'm excited about it.
Good.
Okay, let's see. Hello, y'all. How y'all doing? I sure have missed y'all. I feel like I haven't seen y'all in a month because I haven't seen y'all in a month because I didn't join Dr. Student's webinar a couple of weeks ago. But I am super excited. We have Dr. Bill Esteb, who is going to be doing a presentation for us today. And let me just tell you, I have not had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Esteb in a number of years, but he was a tremendous resource for me, especially in those early years. Y'all know we like to talk about when I didn't know a whole lot of anything, because I really didn't know a whole lot of anything. And Kathy Widener, also known as Kathy Mills Chang, is the one who introduced me to him. And I saw him, I think I saw you speak for the first time at one of Kathy's events.
Probably.
And let me just tell y'all, I learned a lot. I have learned a lot over the years. It's been a really long time since he's been back. And I'm super, super excited, especially talking about digital marketing. I know y'all have a lot of questions about that. This was a recommended or a session y'all asked about for us to address this topic. So I just want to say I've missed you, my dears. And this is Dr. Bill Esteb, and I'm going to turn it over to him so he can share with us a little bit of his wisdom on a really big topic. Dr.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Christy. But just one quick direction. I'm not a doctor, although I play one on television. No, I've been
I don't know why I said that. You know, I have to tell people that every time because they introduce me as Dr. Hudson, and I don't even do that on TV. But yeah. Oh my gosh, Bill, I'm so sorry.
No problem. So I've been a patient for 42 years, I guess, this year. And so I want to share a little bit about digital marketing. And this is sponsored, of course, by Perfect Patients website service. And if you have any questions, we'll try to get to that at the end. And I can't get to them, or you come up with a question tomorrow, email me, bill@perfectpatients.com. So we do have an offer, just to get this out of the way. If the philosophy and the values and the perspective that I share today makes sense to you and the timing is right, you might want to consider upgrading to a Perfect Patients website. And we offer this no setup fee offer if you're interested. And just reference this particular show. And the link to that particular landing page, as throughout the entire show, is at the bottom. When you want to spend a little bit more time and go into a resource, I'll include that link along the bottom so you can just stop it or rewind it or whatever, if that's of interest to you. There's a story which took place about 40 miles south of here on the Bar Trail that goes up to the top of Pikes Peak. You can walk up to the top of Pikes Peak and drive up as well, but the walk is a wonderful hike. And the story is told of two hikers one spring morning who were on their way up the Bar Trail. And it's a beautiful view because Colorado Springs just lays right out there in front of you. And the story is told that they encountered a mama bear and two cubs. And of course, that's kind of risky in the springtime. And so one of the hikers quietly took off his rucksack, reached into it, got out a pair of tennis shoes, and took off his hiking boots to put on running shoes. And his partner said, "You can't outrun a bear. They run 30 miles an hour." And he said, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I have to outrun you." And that metaphor, that story, I think, is a great metaphor for how we win online with digital marketing, because you'll never have a perfect website. You just need to have one better than the competitors that are in your neck of the woods. So it's just about outrunning the local competition. And I know it's annoying, but there are some chiropractors who have websites that do not rank as highly as someone who they consider to be an inferior chiropractor across the street. So I want to share with you a couple of the insights into how to do that and win online. I've got two goals for our time together. The first is to reduce some of the mystery of digital marketing. We've got chiropractors who have been abused, they've been taken advantage of, overpromised, and frankly have PTSD when it regards to their online digital marketing. And so I'd like to just bring some pragmatism and some simplicity to all of this, and just kind of really get to the 20% that produces 80% of the response when it comes to digital marketing. The second goal is to equip you to make better decisions about your digital marketing investment. For the same reason you probably don't do your own taxes or represent yourself in court, you probably want to delegate your digital marketing to someone who does it all day long. It's kind of tough to excel at being a chiropractor and digital marketing, but that's kind of the big picture as to what we're going to try to do today in the limited time we have. Started for me back in 1981 when I got my very first computer. Got my first website in 1994, started blogging in 1999, founded Perfect Patients with my business partner in 2006. We have 4 service plans, 82 team members, and a distributed workforce around the country. I think there's 12 different countries that our team is located in. We've all worked from home since the very beginning, even before the pandemic and everything else. So distributed workforce is kind of old hat for us. Currently, we have a little over 2,500 clients, and that's growing. And those clients are represented in the light blue sections of the map. And since beginning our service in 2006, we've generated a little over 2 million new patients for our customers. And so I like to think that we've got a kind of a pretty good idea about the online behaviors of new patients and what they do right before they make a phone call to begin care. So that's some of the things we'll be talking about today. There are basically 5 factors of digital marketing success. And in the very center, it starts with your new patient goals. If you're in a white spot in the road, Montana, you're the only chiropractor within 120 miles, your digital marketing needs are quite different than someone who's in a suburb of Seattle or San Francisco. But it starts with new patient goals. And the first thing and the most important of the 5 factors and the largest of the circles, as you'll notice, is your website. It is the hub of all of your digital marketing efforts. And I know some people are trying to pull that off with a Facebook ad or some other Twitter thing or Instagram. But bottom line is even patients who find you through social media still want to go to your website and learn about what it is that you're up to. So, and there's still an amazing number of chiropractors who do not have a website. It really is a crucial part of the whole digital marketing equation because it's real estate that you control. The second aspect is, of course, getting traffic to that website. That's kind of the second factor in the upper right-hand corner there. And there's 2 ways of getting traffic. We'll talk about those. You get it organically or you can buy it. The next one coming around here at about the 4 o'clock section is online reviews. Very, very important. It's a form of social proof that's very, very important to a new patient deciding what chiropractor they're going to choose or what restaurant they're going to try or what trip advisor is saying on this topic or whatever. So reviews are really important. We'll talk about some of the do's and don'ts of reviews. Skipping over to the 7 o'clock area is social media. It's the smallest of the circles because our experience has shown that it is not a major new patient channel, at least not if you were using organic traffic. And we'll get a little bit about that more into when we get into social media. And the final channel representing the 20-80, the 20% that produces 80% of the results is email marketing. And it's one of the most important channels because you control it. You actually, you can't be deplatformed, really. You've got their email address or text for that matter, but it's a very, very powerful tool to keep in touch with patients. And just as an overview, my experience has been that most chiropractors, they either over email their list in there and an over a contact, or they're mostly under contact. They're not doing it often enough. So we'll talk a little bit about frequency towards the end of our program. So let's get started with a high converting website, since it's the most important part of the channel, the most important channel in terms of digital marketing. And it's time for maybe a pop quiz. There's two websites. Website 1 receives 100 visitors to become patients. Website 2 receives 16 visitors for become patients. And of course, the correct answer is website number 2. We're not looking for visitors. We're looking for new patients, which is encapsulated in a concept we call conversion. And it's something that amazingly a lot of people don't talk about, but the key is, how do you convert a visitor into a reception room new patient? And I want to talk about some of the things that go into an effective website that does just that. But conversion is something that we kind of stumbled on through a pretty serious mistake. This was several years ago. We had a customer who canceled with us, and it does happen. I called him up. I said, hey, I couldn't help but notice that we've gotten you to the top of page 1 for, the new patient producing keywords. And we're not understanding why you've canceled. And he said, well, it's simple. He says, appreciate you getting me to the top of page 1. He says, but we're not getting new patients. And that was kind of an eye-opening experience. And it really caused us to double down and understand, what is it that goes through the mind of a potential new patient that says, you're the chiropractor for me. So let's talk about some of those particular issues. And it goes back to the new patient journey, knowing what a patient does and the pecking order of the most important pages that are on your website. For example, the most important, obviously, is the landing page, the home page. That's where most strangers are going to enter your practice website. New patient or current patients, active patients, probably come into a landing page somewhere else. But the home page is the most important for a brand new patient, followed by the Meet the Doctor page. And we'll talk quite a bit about that, because it is probably the most poorly done page that I've seen in chiropractic, all the hundreds and hundreds of websites I've looked at over the years. Obviously, contact us so they get a hold of you. That's got to be consistent. About us, which shares your practice philosophy and patient care approach. And finally, the very end of it, of the 5 pages, are services. That is, what are you actually doing, whether it's chiropractic only, whether it's laser, spinal decompression, whatever. All of that goes in towards the bottom. So that's the pecking order in terms of the new patient journey. And we've seen patients go through this pecking order hundreds, thousands of times, actually. So the key thing with your website is to answer their number one question or concern, and that has to do with, are you the chiropractor for me? And the challenge of this, of course, is that if your notion of an ideal patient is someone warmer than room temperature with a spine, we have a problem, because what it causes many chiropractors to do to try to appeal to everyone is they turn up beige, indistinguishable. They've rounded off all the sharp corners. They've dumbed down everything, and they've tried to show up politically correct so as to not offend anyone, which frankly I find offensive. But the real issue is, how do you divulge enough of yourself so that someone can connect with you and answer the question, are you the chiropractor for me? And there's a lot of ways of getting there, and I'll share with you some of the most important ones. But one of the most important conversion equations is a design that it's contemporary, up to date, and connects with your ideal patient, and content that actually persuades them to begin care, to learn more, to take the next action step in terms of discovering whether that you are, in fact, the right chiropractor for them. The key thing to remember here is that your website is not for you. I mean, you'll pay for it, you'll have it maintained, but it's really for patients and prospective patients. And that's obvious, I understand, but here's what happens all too often is we start when we start working with someone, they want their website to resonate with them. After all, they're paying for it. It's their website. They want their favorite colors. They want their favorite approaches to how you do things. The challenge, of course, is that about 3/4 of the people who visit healthcare websites are female. So the idea is that you would want to make sure that your website has a feminine bias, and plus the fact that they're using mobile devices for the most part. But a feminine bias, what does that actually mean without being sexist? Well, it means that you probably want to show people over things. We'll talk a little bit more about that with photography momentarily. You want to show curves, warmer colors. The key is to show up authentic, transparent, and to talk about the relationships, your ability to listen, your willingness to partner with the patient. These are things that tend to appeal to people who make decisions for their families about healthcare. The other issue that's somewhat related to this, simply because more and more people, over 50% now, are using mobile devices to access your website. So a lot of the design work that our team does, it starts with a mobile design, which has to do with a million factors in terms of, how far apart are the clickable buttons on the mobile version, so that you don't, click something that you don't want to go to, but you click on what it is that you're actually interested in. So you want to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And if your website is older than 5 or 6 years, my guess is that it is not mobile friendly, which is impairing the ranking of your website. Part of optimizing for mobile is really about load speed. We've all had situations where something just took forever to load, and so we lost interest and hit the back button and went on with our search. And one of the biggest fundamental issues with load speed has to do with optimizing photographs. Here are 2 photographs of 2 proud parents, apparently, of this spine that they've somehow conjured up. The key point, though, is that both pictures look virtually to the eye, virtually the same, except that the one on the left is 5 times larger. It has 5 times more bits and bytes to it than the one on the right. So it takes 5 times longer to load. And so if you're uploading photographs from your iPhone or your Samsung or whatever it is, and without optimizing the photo, then you're blasting up a much larger file than you actually need, and it slows down the page load time for the website pages that photograph is on. The key thing to remember on all of this is that people want to see people, and if you take a look at some of the more popular magazines, the People, Us Weekly, and all of those sorts of magazines almost always feature people on the covers. Magazines that have a lower circulation tend to feature things, Popular Mechanics. They feature things on the cover. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of people-rich photographs on your website. And here are a couple of things that you want to keep in mind, either as you take pictures of your practice, or whether you perhaps more wisely hire a professional photographer to come in. Number one, you want to avoid what I call the neutron bomb effect, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. You want to make sure that unless it's a picture that depicts for your is depicted on your biography page, you want the pictures to be candid, as if the new patient is eavesdropping in surreptitiously on what's going on in your practice. Backgrounds, I'll show you some strange examples of backgrounds where photographers weren't really aware of what was going on behind the scenes. It kind of makes things look a little bizarre and cluttered. You want show people over equipment. We talked about that already. And any of you who've done selfies, you know that you put the camera above eye level, and you must get model releases, so that even if it's if it's a spouse or front desk staff or whatever, you want to get everyone to sign. And of course, all the people that are playing extras as patients, you want model releases for them, so that you don't have someone coming back at you and say, I want to be paid for it or whatever, and you just don't want to have to deal with it. So get releases so that you can actually use their picture. So here's an example of before and after. On the left-hand side, you'll see the neutron bomb effect of equipment. This is not a particularly, frankly, that expensive Thompson table, it looks pretty scary to most patients. Doesn't look quite so scary when people are enjoying being on the table in the picture on the right. Same thing here. There's the neutron bomb look of the reception room on the left. And then here's something that's far more reassuring to a new patient. Oh, people like me go to places like this. That's really good to see. So you want to make sure that you include pictures with people in them. And the key thing is to make sure the pictures are depicting people doing stuff. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Pay to have a high quality portrait done. You are the product in many, many ways. People buy you before they buy your message. So this is not a place to cut corners. It's not a place to go out and stand in front of a brick wall out front and take a snapshot of your face and slap it on your website. This needs to be professionally lit and thought through in terms of who you're trying to appeal to. Which brings me to this slide. Here's 3 actual chiropractors who practice around the United States. And the question that I often pose is, who's dressed appropriately? And the time's up, and the answer, please, they all are. It just depends upon who you want to attract. And if you want it both ways, you might wear a white lab coat in clinical pictures in the x-ray room or doing a surface EMG scan or whatever. You might use a suit on a portrait page. You might use something that you probably wear all the time during the actual adjusting sequences. You can get it all the ways, because there are people who will size you up based upon what you're actually wearing. So there's no right or wrong way. It has to do, again, with who do you want in your practice. Well, I want someone warmer than room temperature with a spine. Well, again, here's the deal. If you're going to attract, you must also be prepared to repel. I know that sounds abhorrent, but the idea is that you can't please everyone. As much as you've tried to get everyone you've ever encountered to like you, there are people that don't like you. And there's people that don't like me. I get it. So the key is to be yourself. So you don't have to act. You don't have to play. You can show up transparent and authentic. Key point. Here's a picture. Because we don't have animation, I can't show you the pictures individually. But here's a scale. You notice a scale to the right of the adjusting sequence. Probably close the door as well. That's just distracting back there. And what you can't see behind that picture in the middle is an exterior. Whenever you take a picture of the exterior of your building, you don't want to do it straight on. You always want to take it obliquely at an angle, like about 20, 30% off axis. The key thing is here's a picture, of a staff member being taken above eye level. The key is to just have pictures of people doing stuff, doing business. They're exchanging something at the front desk. Whenever you show someone being adjusted, you want to make sure they're smiling, so that it reduces the fear factor to someone who maybe has never been adjusted before, regardless of your technique. Another part of website is usability. And as much as we like to be different and break new ground, when it comes to the navigation and layout of a chiropractic website, you really want to follow the rules, if you will, the conventions, so that you don't force people to have to think just to be able to use your website. So obviously the logo is almost always goes in the upper left-hand corner. There's a conventional menu across the top. Hyperlinks are typically in blue. You can have them in any color you want, but blue immediately says, oh, I can click this. and anything that looks like a button should be clickable, or try to make it clickable if you possibly can. One of the tools we've used over the years is a heat map. And this shows a website for a practice down in Florida that we were working with. And it's difficult to describe, but if you can see, there are little puffs of blue around the screen. And the brighter the blue, as you can see right above the middle doctor's head, that means more people have clicked there. So this heat map shows where people click. And we use this frequently to diagnose websites that aren't performing well. So it's an interesting tool, but it goes back to learning about what it is that confuses people and keeps them on track. My area, what I brought to the table all these years, is the content side of a website. That is the words. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. So I'm more in the content side of things, which is how I got started back in 1881. But there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind as you have the text written for your practice. It's got to be personal. Can't be beige. It needs to be relevant to that number one concern. Are you the chiropractor for me? It needs to be authentic and truly you. That's why I like to intersperse first person and third person text. That is, you have Dr. So-and-so, blah, 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 blah. This is third person, and it's just an objective look at it. And then we switch to first person in quotation marks. Here's a direct quote from you. And that makes it much more interesting to read and more informative for the visitor. The other issue is relatively new, is the YMYL, which is the your money or your life. And since chiropractic falls within the healthcare realm, there's a special hired bar, if you will, that content on a chiropractic website needs to reach. And I'll share with you the three qualities of that in a moment. So here's a doctor bio, and I've made this up. This is all fake, but I've seen this. It's a press release. It's a curriculum vitae. That's not what your doctor bio needs to look like. The key is to be far more personal. And here's an example of a website where the doctor revealed information about himself, and in an attempt to make a connection. This is an individual out of Denver who spent a lot of time outdoors and does a lot of kayaking and mountain biking and stuff. And he shared all that in his doctor bio. And that's what you're looking for, is to reveal stuff that's personal, that's relevant to you. People don't want to know about my hobbies. Yeah, they do. They want to know you're a real person, and that you're not showing up as healthier than thou, that you put your pants on one leg at a time, etc. So your money or your life content focuses around the concept of EAT, which stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trust. These are the three values, if you will, that the Google rankers, because there are some people that actually look at websites, they want to see that in someone who is purporting to offer healthcare advice. And this rubs many chiropractors the wrong way. However, there are we on this call probably believe that the highest calling of any doctor is to prevent what it is that they treat. And so pediatric chiropractic probably makes a lot of sense. But maybe the rankers who do this manually at Google don't think that chiropractic and infants or newborns should be in the same sentence. And so you may have a trust issue there that may show up. So it's not a slam dunk. You need to give some thought to the type of content you have, and does it fit the profile of what Google might think a chiropractor should be involved with. And that's a longer story than I want to give to it here, but you want to give some thought to how you show up as an expert, whether it be additional postgraduate training, whether it be case studies. Let people know that you can be trusted because of your expertise. Obviously, you want content that's fresh. That's one of the reasons for blogging. And it's a great way to create pages that can be referred to. It can you can optimize a blog post for a particular set of keywords that you enjoy seeing. For example, let's say you wanted to attract more pediatric patients. That you'd have a lot of blog posts about pediatric patients. And blogging today is easier than ever with ChatGPT. And that's outside the scope of what we'll be talking about today. But there are so many easy ways to get great blogging content that you might want to give some thought to. It's a great way of self-expression. Here's an ebook that would give you some more ideas and insights into blogging if you've never done that before. But it's a great way of adding additional content to your website. Because part of authoritativeness is about how many pages you have on your website. So all things being equal, if your website has 30 pages, it's going to likely rank better than a chiropractic website with 7 pages just down the street. So it's not fair. It's not even necessarily truthful, but they attribute a larger website to a website that has more authority. So here are some of the 5 takeaways, if you will, in terms of the hub of your digital marketing website. And obviously, you want to make sure that you answer the question, are you the chiropractor for me? You want to talk about the importance of having a high converting website, not just a website and check the box, have website. You want a website that is a marketing tool. A copywriter wrote it, not a creative art writer. So this is a marketing tool. And the shelf life of a typical chiropractic office, well, most websites is about 2 to 3, 4 years max. People can very quickly tell when something is not quite up to snuff. That it's not up to date. And that's done in just a split second above our conscious level. And biggest takeaway, of course, is to have great professional photography and realize that you're writing for patients, number 1, and Google, number 2. So that's the website. That's number 1. Number 2, of course, is traffic. And why have a website if no one's visiting it? And so you want to make sure that you're doing what can be done to attract appropriate traffic to your website. So here's a couple of high-level looks at it. The whole idea of creating trust to Google, because what you're really doing here is you're asking Google to risk its reputation on your reputation. So Google has a limited number of tools to be able to determine if you are trustworthy, if you in fact are the best chiropractor in that particular jurisdiction. And there's 2 ways of looking at that in terms of on-page SEO, that is things that you control with meta tags and pictures and all alternative descriptions of images and all the rest, the internal linking structure within your website. And then there's off-page SEO, which has to do with how close you are to the person searching. It has to do with the number of reviews you have. That's worthy of an entire section we'll talk about momentarily. The user behavior. Google's watching what patients do on your website. And if patients come to your website and then quickly leave, that registers with Google. And so you want to avoid that at all costs. So there's user behavior, there's citations that happen outside in the world. And then there's stuff that happens on page on your website itself. The key thing to remember here is that Google doesn't rank a website, it ranks individual pages on that website. So one of the things you want to make sure you are clear on as you make decisions about your website is each page on your website should be designed to win for a search term. That is, what is someone going to type into the Google search bar? Every page, you want to know, what are we trying? What keywords are we shooting for this particular page? There's over 200 values that are contemplated in the Google algorithm for determining ranking. These are some of the important ones. You can check on that link there at the bottom, and you can look at all 200 if you wish. This is all black box technology. No one knows for sure. All we've done is we've done experiments, we see what happens, and we reverse engineer how Google responds in particular situations. The upper left-hand corner, it says domain age, which means when did this domain become active? And this is one reason why if you're coming to the party late, let's say you got a website 3 years ago, but your competitors down the street have been actively blogging and have been online for 15 years, that domain age can really start to work against you. So there's some things you just simply can't control. And there's workarounds around that, which we'll get to momentarily. You want to improve your link profile. A link is a vote of authority. That is, someone who links to you is saying, yeah, I would risk my reputation on that website and that chiropractor's website. And the short story is you want to increase all the good links and reduce bad links. Well, what would be a bad link? Well, there are bad links, and link farm links are bad. If you get all these links from India because you paid $23 for 200 links, that works against you. Google can tell that's not how a local chiropractor would have a link profile that would have 200 links from India. That doesn't make sense. Irrelevant sites, trading links, reciprocal links, that sort of thing. You want local links. You want one-way links if you can. And you want to get rid of unhelpful links. And oftentimes when we take over the supervision and management of someone's website, that's the first order of business, is to look at the link profile and see which ones need to be disavowed and removed, and as much as possible. Very, very important. So you want to secure the appropriate directory listings, and the appropriate directory listings are different based upon your geographical area. Certainly you want to be on all the health related or chiropractic related links as appropriate as you possibly can. That's a great way of improving your link profile that's relevant. And if I were in practice, I would want to get links from as many of the people I spend money with as possible. If you work with a radiological lab or lawyers, maybe you work with a technique site of some kind, or a gym, a Pilates studio, or whatever it is. You ask them for a link. And of course, if that fails, publish linkable content and recommend a Pilates studio, and recommend to the Pilates studio that they link to this article that you recommend them, and whatever. So it's a big story. It's a complicated issue, but it's worth the effort, and it's something that a chiropractor can do that we can't as kind of a third party, because these are largely relationships that you have with these people locally. You want to optimize your Google My Business listing. That's a whole other conversation. And the other approach that's the organic approach to traffic. And then you can buy traffic through Google AdWords, Facebook ads, Bing ads, etc. And there's 3 reasons why you would want to use pay-per-click. The first is that you have a brand new website, brand new practice. You don't have any authority yet. You can buy the top of page 1. It can be expensive, I get it, but it's a great way to do it for a short period of time as you're launching a practice. The second reason is if you find yourself your practice located in what we call no man's land. No man's land is this happens to be a map of Denver and the southern suburb called Littleton, south of Denver. And let's say your practice is located on where that little red push pin is, which is actually in Denver, even though all of your patients are going to come from Littleton. because you can't really rank very well against all of the Denver websites. So what you want to do is buy Littleton traffic. And that's one really good reason to use pay-per-click. And the third is perhaps you offer a very specialized service that people actually do search on, whether it be carpal tunnel or cold laser or, whatever it is, some narrow aspect of practice that maybe you can't normally rank for, at least in the early days. And so you just buy the traffic of people who are looking for that. So that's worthy of actually buying, at least for a short period of time. Two ways to get traffic to your website: earn it or buy it. They're both expensive. The organic isn't free. You're not writing a check for it, but you're writing a check for content and photography and all the other things that make a great website. You want to know what each page on your website is optimized for. So if someone's doing your website, you want to make sure to ask those questions. Because Google knows that you can try to game the system with what you do on page, Google is far, far more interested in what visitors actually do on your website. So if they come to your website and hang around and spend lots of time reading all your content, Google says, this scratching the itch. This must be worth considering to be raised in the rankings. Fully optimize your Google My Business listing, and of course, consider pay-per-click advertising to intercept traffic interested in particular keywords through the database of intention. The third out of the 20 percenters would be reviews. And you've kind of alluded to that already, but it's one of the ways Google figures out whether you're a good chiropractor or not. It's based upon, who's reviewing you and what kind of star rating they're giving you. Three considerations when it comes to reviews. Obviously, the number of reviews, the average number of stars, that makes sense, and of course the recency of it. So if your last review is from 2 years ago, doesn't quite give Google the confidence that you're keeping up with the gang, with the game. And so the key thing is to come up with a systematic way of generating reviews on a regular basis, which is why we developed a program called Get Reviews, which does that systematically, reaching out to your patients after they show up for a visit. And it doesn't take much to realize that reviews are an important part of social proof, that more and more people look at reviews before they go to a new restaurant or try a hotel or whatever it is. So it is important. You want to make sure that you ask for a review when patients show improvement. It's the perfect moment. The key thing is not to get distracted by the dopamine hit that you get when someone delights in the care that they're receiving. And instead, it'd really be helpful if you would leave a review and tell others about this experience that you've had. And so you want to do that within a couple of days of the visit that they've been on, asking them for the reviews. And for many patients, you may have to actually show them how to do a review. You certainly don't want to do it in your office, but you might have a list. We're trying to build Google reviews this month. So here's how you leave a Google review if you've never done it before. And you just give them step by step, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is. The key is to do it consistently. If suddenly your Google profile is inundated with 12 reviews in the course of 48 hours, Google says, sounds like this isn't organic. This isn't, they're trying to do something here. And so it works against you. The key is steady Eddie, 1 or 2 a month, 1 or 2 a week, and grow it organically. Maybe this week you do Google, next week you do Facebook, whatever, and move it around and cultivate the number of reviews you have. Obviously, you don't want to solicit non-patients for reviews, and or worse, having an unused computer in your reception room so that patients can leave reviews while they're there. That's a no bueno, because Google can tell the IP address is the same as your website, and not good. So and don't offer prizes or do it right. Do it above board. Do it authentically so that it won't crash and burn sometime in the future. Now, from time to time, because you work with the public, you are going to get a negative review. It's heartbreaking. People rightfully take it personally. First thing to do is don't panic. Because it's not a matter of if you're going to get a bad review, it's when you're going to get a bad review. Because, sometime you're going to fail to communicate this, or an expectation was that, and you're going to have a disgruntled individual who wants to vent that and get payback, if you will. So there's a couple of, by the way, there's a link at the very bottom of this page that shows a whole blog post devoted to this. But the high points is someone needs to monitor the various review sites that are relevant to your practice and its location. Because you want to respond to a negative review if possible. But if you don't even know it's out there, it's just slow. It's like a cancer slowly eating away at your trust level, and you can't figure out why are our new patient numbers down? Well, it's because you've got a review out there that has not been responded to. And so people figure, well, it's probably true. You want to make sure that you don't break any HIPAA nonsense if you're responding to reviews. You want to be very matter of fact, gentle, put your emotions away, just matter of fact. And the key thing is to try to take that conversation out of the public eye, because what you ultimately want is that person to take that review down if they can. And it may be a gift. It may be a review where they point out something that you really do need to fix, and it's not just a misunderstanding. It's a problem that other patients maybe respond to as well. So, and then the final strategy, of course, is to bury the review organically by piling on all kinds of other positive reviews on top of it, so it goes down the hill. The key thing here to remember is that a negative review or two is not the end of the world, because it actually creates high credibility for the ones that are 5-star reviews. So it's not the end of the world, but it does need to be done in a very business-like fashion. The fourth issue is social media. You probably need, as a practice, to involve yourself in social media in some way, shape, or form. And this is from someone who doesn't do social media, so I can't really add too much to the equation, but we have produced a free ebook that you might find helpful that explains the real value proposition of why you should cultivate your tribe in social media and what it takes to do that effectively. So download your copy. It's free. The Chiropractor's Guide to Facebook, and it'll give you a lot of great ideas that you can do on your own time. The fifth and final factor in terms of how to win online is something that's overlooked by a lot of chiropractors. At least that's been my experience, and that's email marketing. Some of you may receive my Monday morning motivation, which I've started sending in 1999 every week, 150 words about some aspect or dimension of the doctor-patient relationship or success principles or what have you. And over the years, 10, 12,000 people around the world have subscribed. And I consider that to be that list, that the permission to email those doctors and staff members to be one of the most valuable possessions that I own. And it was hard won, but you too have the same opportunity as you collect email addresses or text numbers from your patient base. So just a couple of high points to think about in terms of comes of email marketing. There are many different types of patient emails that you can send. The key thing on all of this is the rule of thumb is 2 or 3 emails that are generous, informational. Hey, did you know? Or hey, here's a link to an interesting article. And then per one invite to return to the practice, or have you thought about adding a pillow to your sleep repertoire that we offer in our practice, or whatever it is? So what you don't want to do is to get into the habit of always having your hand out every time you communicate with patients. So be generous, be informative. At the very least, birthdays and New Year's resolution time. This is a time of the year when people are thinking about, doubling down on their workouts or their diet or whatever it is. You kind of want to be in front of them during that first week or two of the year. So highly recommend that. And use it for surveys. Find out what people like and dislike about your practice. Can be very, very helpful. You want to keep the emails as short as possible. I think we all have received or subscribed to a weekly or monthly emails that are so long that we say we don't even open it because we know could take forever to read. So we set it aside, and sometimes it's set aside permanently and no one ever reads it. So I would want to acquire the reputation of keeping it short. That's one of the reasons why I limit Monday Morning Motivation to 150 words. I mean, some of the topics we talk about, you could write 2,000 words on, but I know that if I show up at 150 words every week, people know, oh, this is just going to take 30 seconds, bang, and then you've got a connection going there. So keep your email short. Segment your list and tag your list if you can. That's one of the things we've done in our email console at Perfect Patients is you can tag people, like you could tag all your Medicare patients, you could tag all of your young parents, pediatric accounts, what have you, or you can tag them by how they pay for their care. You can tag them by symptom. Here's all your headache patients, so that you can target emails to people with headaches or people who have attended your seminar or your outreach public event or screening. So that's very, very helpful, because then it makes the email that you're sending far more relevant, and people are more likely to act on it if it's something that you can be tailored. And you're not sending Medicare information to your entire database, but only to the people who really are interested in Medicare. Always include a call to action somewhere in the email, typically at the end. What do you want the person to do? Click here, download your free copy of this, subscribe to that. Always ask people to do something. That's called a call to action. That's marketing 101. And be consistent. If you get into the routine of doing 2 emails a month, which I think is probably the sweet spot for a chiropractic practice, do that. Show up at the first of the month and the 15th or whatever, and get into a cadence that can be consistent, and people knows what to expect from what's coming from you. I'm often asked, what is the best day of the week to send emails? And it turns out that the best day of the week is Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. So it's midweek, basically. People are recovering from the weekend and the slog of emails in their inbox on Mondays. That's not a good date. And frankly, Fridays, people, they may have left for the weekend already, if not physically, at least emotionally. So midweek is probably the best time to send emails. And so that kind of covers the 5 factors of digital marketing success. And what you've just heard is a distillation of an 8-hour seminar. So there's a lot more to put meat on more of the bones here, but that gives you the 20% of the things that you could do that produce 80% of the effect, because there's literally hundreds, maybe thousands of things you could do digitally to enlarge your territory and connect with more new patients. And again, if this makes sense, number one, invest in your website. It's the hub of all your digital marketing efforts. And you get traffic 2 ways, either organically or buying the traffic through pay-per-click advertising. Crucial to have steady Eddie reviews coming in on a regular basis. Use social media to cultivate your tribe and kind of have an insiders club, if you will, among patients who are part of the practice. And remember to use email and text. It's one of the most powerful overlooked channels that you can use in practice. And again, if the timing is right and you'd like to find out more about Perfect Patients, we're certainly offering a no setup opportunity if you're so inclined, and would love to help you improve your digital marketing.
Thank you so much. So if people have questions, because I notoriously have questions after the fact. Oh, you just put it up here, bill@perfectpatients.com. And can we go back to the offer that you gave them so they can see where that is?
Yeah, there's a landing page there at the bottom of the screen.
Here we go. Perfect. And I'm going to pop that link to up here so y'all can directly click in it right here and highlight that. They were definitely my usual active self. Dr. Chris Talley said that he loves the Monday morning motivation email and looks forward to it every week.
Good.
So it's really interesting. I love listening to everybody's feedback about websites and their personal thoughts on it versus feedback from patients. And, I think one of my favorite things to say, and it's great advice, is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And sometimes your website is the first impression. And I know personally, as a consumer and a patient, I am super judgy.
We all are.
And I think the same thing about Facebook. And it doesn't matter if you have a Facebook or social media pages if you're not active on them. So when I am asking for a recommendation and somebody will put somebody's social media in there and I click on it, if they haven't posted in 10 months, then I'm going to assume they're out of business and go look for somebody else.
That's right.
One quick question. What is the best way to highlight and market a new doctor that has just joined your office? I love that, Mike.
Yeah. If I were running the zoo, I would obviously make a big deal of that on the website. You want to make sure you add the photograph and get professional photography done for that. It also makes sense to generate an email about that as well. I'd make it somewhat intriguing. I'd say, Dr. Smith has joined our practice, and there's something that is so special about him that you won't believe it. You read his biography and see if you can figure out what it is, so that you create some mystery about learning about this new person. Some offices who are responsible for generating traffic for, new patient traffic for a new associate will buy pay-per-click advertising for 90 days just to get a little bit more lift in the patient volume for a short period of time to kind of prime the pump.
What do you think about like a video interview introducing the new doctor on social media? I think we all know TikTok is so popular. Reels are so popular because people love videos. But yeah. I think that's the beauty of social media, is that they see your face, hear your voice, and they feel like they know you by the time they meet you for the first time.
Well, that is the point, isn't it? Yeah. One of the feedback pieces I've received over the recent months is that Instagram, while interesting, tends to skew demographically younger. Mm-hmm. And these are people that aren't necessarily interested in chiropractic care. As a general rule, they're pretty healthy. So you want to be real careful about how you, what social media channels you put energy into. But video and Facebook, perfect.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for your insight today. And you actually covered a lot because this is such a broad topic of discussion and there's so much to it. A lot of people are asking about digital marketing, especially when it comes to social media. And there are a lot of websites out there that need a lot of work. I'm not saying y'all, I'm not looking at your website. But if your website needs work. And here's what I'm going to say is anything that takes you away from patient care is not the best use of your time. So I hope you'll reach out, look at Perfect Patients, reach out to Bill and his team. If you have any questions, make sure you look at that ebook and check it out, because they're an incredible resource and they have such great information as well on their website. So Thank you so much, Bill, for being here today. And hopefully I will see you soon. I think the last 2 times I was actually in your area, you were actually somewhere else, which does happen quite a bit.
Yep. Airplanes are our life.
I know. I tell people all the time, I live out of a suitcase and my house is my vacation home.
And thank you for all the work you guys do at ChiroHealthUSA. I mean, it's such a blessing to all these chiropractors who need that extra resource to be able to offer cash and do it legally and to do it with their head held high. And it's just a valuable service.
Well, thank you. We take that tagline, the network that works for chiropractic, to heart every single day. And I told somebody this weekend that I can't believe I get paid for this job and to serve this profession, that it's been 13 years. And I think back to the fact that Ray posted his very first job listing on Craigslist. I visited Craigslist for the very first time in my life 5 minutes after he posted it, and I applied for it. And I told my husband, I just want to go back to work full time and be around other adults. And, I just need a job, and then I'll figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And that random Craigslist crossing gate, like, I can't believe this is my job and this is what I get to do. And this is a profession that I serve every day.
Yep.
So y'all are such a blessing. I love y'all so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a great week, Bill, and fingers crossed really soon. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, y'all.